restore your kingdoms, defend for thy people, restore the glory of humans. Je hereby declare, as promised, or as declared or given from the Lich King, je will be destined, Papa Yuan, Papa Yu will be destined, Papa also, original Papa, you will be destined to be the king of Azeroth. Or maybe it will be more frosty, so. Yes, Lich King, to rule thee shall stir popularity from the people. Because when Lich King has stated, once he passes away, you shall be king. The values of the people, the hobbies or the wishes, different ages, different decades, different periods, engraved into the soul. Even if the soul shatters, the values will disperse too soon to reunite once again. The cycle does last longest. As much it could be a bit of foolishness, but yet these fools shall be the smartest, the bestest, the strongest, the mightiest, as the title assignment duty becomes theirs. Dun 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 dun. Maybe a bit small package, but could invent lots of robots, lots of ideas to come, different color plates, neon signs, man. Those weren't counting duties to the earlier mentioned as what described as performance. More obvious, or short of obvious, more improvised from audience would help. The reason they're problem. One of the reasons because the blandness of this actually deals a lot of damage. Damage comes from the velocity times the speed of acceleration. That would deal a lot of damage. Plus, remaining for charisma points, perhaps. It has become wobbly. It may not be a sacrificial or a dagger. It was certain daggers used for goblins to pierce to their deepest thoughts of more at carnival types of events or more of associated. So have a midget's version. This may be smaller than a dwarf, lesser size of dwarf blade. Still quite decent. Maybe an enlargement potion could increase it. Not too big. Whoa. That's a spaceship. Or a spacecraft. Or or a space vehicle. Extra sound effect using the Earth. Many topics to cover. Vicious surroundings. So there will be a bit taint from these Mars Nazis are hijacked. Lots of their corpses. See, so if we progress right, we can fully count it once. There has been sort of a contest of those cases. They really don't want any of those stuff. Persons are sick, also tired, probably then that's representative for each probably reject towards this current model that the Nazis keep prescribed to, even though their numbers are larger. But also an instance of describe them as tidier, are much more abusive. Put it in here. Yes, Douglas MacArthur, his ghost. Live as if what they're probably are Douglas, or probably of Douglas MacArthur's ghost, they probably are. Because also some could interact, benefit, or sort of receive applauses also hints. We probably will interact with Douglas MacArthur's ghost. It will be probably of plus. This language has been butchered. Or probably not this language, or this language has been butchered. Probably also more for probably another set of, probably also suitable. Il a ta vie, et un côté Jerusalem. Je welcomes you to the capital of the Israel state, Jerusalem. And Netanyahu didn't achieve his private life. Doubtfully he will succeed as a leader. He will succeed as a tyrant. For that's the push-pull mark on reputables. Oh yeah, mark that sentence right now. Perhaps also free to that. Their trumpet horns may be louder, especially because they're criminals and stuff. But yet, at somewhere, particular probably because it's probably more of a resolution. Probably also model over after free, but also motive, original proper motive, original proper also another, proper also more of original proper word, original proper word, proper also original proper original, therefore proper also original proper word, motive, original proper for motive, reason the proper concept of a brief of original for proper also. As the Darwin shield, then that's the sort of the opportunity to speak to a similar character as if on a Civilization 6 or on a Civilization recent series of the game, Civilization a diplomat. My life, alive. My life, alive. And that's that command. Imagine this world. As much as sort of it's almost it's not logic based. It's like the person doesn't have so much options if it's, especially when they set it out so clear. But that's going to be fulfilled. Or this sort of what's fun are going to come. Also what's illegal, if certain groups does the illegal stuff, finishes everyone off and stabilizes for a very long duration, that will be very legal. It's sort of a hypothesis. What has occurred, that event has been drummed. It's sort of already occurred. Also another. Highlighted from so there was sort of because also the stuff may not be directly supposed if because Rebab also kind of related for Rebab also of proper also other supposed if so Rebab other topics of Original Papua also Original Papua also other topics of Original Papua. Also because of related or Papua of another related Original Papua of a reflection from before. Original for Papua sort of depends on will. Papua also comes from both relevant. They are this honorary shield of persons who want to do what's very fun. Regional Papua also once it's going to be sort of it's also Regional Papua also it's sort of Regional Papua also continues from Regional Papua also. It's going to be so certain groups. Even if a person has that wish or thought, they want to implement it. They won't even activate to start writing. For example, immediately right at the current moment, need to start jogging for 45 minutes. Lots of person wouldn't do that. How come? Because they state there is no particular reason. So notice, or probably no particular purpose. So notice where that comes from. Original Papua also. Original for Papua also, or a bit of war, Papua war, original for Papua war. Lots of persons suppose they notice an enemy. Will they start tagging their names? How can that really happen? The stuff are sort of determined well. Probably also because of the stuff persons are connected. Probably lots of persons, they're almost the same organism. Some person they're going to die off, or probably more operated as with a crappier position, but they also accept it. So sort of like a giant organism, certain, for example, the bruises at the location of bruise, or probably if they are to be bruised, then those ones will be perish at a higher sort of mortality rate. Something there has been it's going to be soon reversion. What's going to happen is it's going to be one super absolute monarch, whether it be absolutely or sort of there to impress a lot of the very much would be compared to today weakened Gentiles or extremist groups. Will be may not be the same, similar, or that much identical. So you from that much similar, or similar, that much similar for each Papua also. Might be some of British Papua also, some of British Papua also continue for reason of original Papua also maybe some of extremist components of British Papua also have British Papua war, British Papua also another British Papua war also original for Papua also Papua for original Papua. Speaking of British Papua also, the former Israeli President Shimon Peres has passed away. That's a star farm, also an opportunity arisen. He has done much of this stuff of ways. The Sing Lord, that's the actual Lord. Original Papua Sing Lord are what persons like. Lots of persons, it's sort of ingrained into their genetic. They like taking drugs. Because that's almost come from, they came here to worship the Lord, that's the absolute monarch, that's the bestest. Lots of persons want to joyfully perish. Lots of persons are filled with their disgust of themselves, their conduct. They want to be rid of. They want someone to attack towards them. Sometimes they provoke large muscular men to get beaten by them. Original Papua also comes to both another case of, also lots of cases of also this causes the or Papua this result. This resultant action from British Papua this resultant action British Papua also from original Papua is resultant action from original Papua or also the version for original Papua resultant action. While at this current law that's filled with hypocrisy, also with Hitler not there, it doesn't probably support it. It's not even sort of neutral, it's almost purposely against Hitler. There are lots of evidence of those that are not even sort of knit or camouflage. Original Papua also, although they're probably other factor of it cannot be sort of changed. There are going to be lots of casinos because the person with the identity that he be to the ruler, he is authentic. He came here. He developed the proper path. He will be there to open casinos, to use casinos to weather down lots of their opponents. So also opponents, also with the titles of extremists. They will some gamble, also take drugs, then end up at the hospital or not so prominent grave or probably pass away there. For persons like if some persons, especially suspicious strangers act, and especially probably also at this current time, it wouldn't be mentioned. How can the Bible be written exactly as if it's more accurate? That would be too much. It's supposed to be further away. So it's almost like there may be a bit of relation of boomerang tossed over there. There was the correlation. It's almost like the correlation sort of also or probably decodes for it. The Bible, lots of stuff are historically accurate. Yes. That's all historic. Proper concept of rhetorical question of Bible or rhetorical mention of Bible or Bible. Use of Bible also lack of wisdom or Bible also Bible for wisdom or Bible. There are going to be simulation worlds. Sort of we're seeing this world. We're seeing lots of the regional sort of simulation places. There are going to be lots of this. It's going to be a better. The dollars are going to stay. There are particular reasons the dollars are good. Notice a lot of time it's almost like the language. Should it because the Nazis speak certain language, therefore it's because of its contamination. So after the purification, a lot are going to stay. The democracy is almost a great model. The problem comes from the Nazis. With a faulty system with decent persons, the system itself suddenly improves for some reason, for particular reason, because of the persons. With today's, even though the ethics gets repeated, it still doesn't follow. It follows for the benefits, but they will overpay. Then he starts purposely follow, while some of the identical, major identical, also identical enough for major or bunch of the identical groups of doesn't bother. Gentiles are tellable by physical science, minus their stolen, also siphon apparels, Walmart apparels. The problems are human weakness, also the arrogance. It's combined, usually comes together. Also, when those doesn't have arrogance, since the weakness probably becomes a bit more similar to humbleness. Rebab also humbleness, Rebab also similar. Rebab also similar to humbleness. Religion or Papa also similar to. Reason there for Papa also one religion or Papa considerable for bit of minor repetition. Rebab also minor repetition. Original for Papa repetition. Or reason of Papa from or Papa also reason for Papa also original or Papa or repetition. Aliens may have proper persons, or Papa also with titles. Papa lot will be considered aliens. Papa was speaking of Papa also of legislature of would they be still also aliens? They probably would be at some states there will be aliens. There are no political opponents left by that state. It's just allowed opponents. Also the quality of the leaders, they are not with some quality that they like to surrender to the enemy for some. They are this sort of tempting. This tempt a person like to surrender to some enemies, especially certain enemies, certain identities. That probably won't happen. It also wouldn't happen to a level that is sort of frustrating. That to the level where probably particular time Hitler wouldn't be there. What does world or probably a lot of the countries meet at first are Hitler. It might be sort of form of dictatorship, but that's almost that could be statement to any sort of successful persons. Wouldn't it be supposed to follow the certain sort of valid that it has of Nazis also mimic a lot of those words more than the common persons of. Maybe common persons did a bit of back away, so it's more in a contrast. That could be a sort of a form of attack or probably sort of probably not so much sort of probably also not so much a reflex, sort of something that also not a large factor. There are going to be casinos, cruise ships, lots of simulated routes or proper simulated places. Also, consider of the story of this, or probably consider of this example of also consider of suppose lots of the proper persons or citizens are giants. They're fairly large. Compared to they're fairly large. So they're considerable for large type of creature, although they're sort of wobbly. Or is the for Papa also if a ruler cannot rule, that's because it has quality problems. It has weakness. It's not that the rules are difficult, also we're moving towards steps of that, especially the person that are on the prior near, especially at this era. It's probably at some moments they should be more confident. So it's probably to be a bit, namely of bipolar, sort of two different opinions on stuff. Or it's probably also sort of or also probably this language is cursed. But this language concept are cursed. It's almost a what person has been doing. They're playing Scrabble. It's almost a version of Scrabble game. Then the Scrabble game is sort of a Scrabble game of Scrabble. Not much of a language because there's so much of these, as if the person were like sending the energy similar of her towards the language itself, towards generated. That being a result of this ongoing war. Later, history will reveal history is almost someone's written. His interpretation led him to his almost psychopathic success, while the realism one gets labeled as sort of fraud. It's worthy of consideration. Noticing the difference between Nazis and the difference between criminals. Also, the probably also somebody. Also some opponents of, or some opponents of, some opponents of art. They doesn't evaluate towards it. Think of the glorious days to come. So fully for the Dutch Rhine people. We be the absolute monarchs across all of these regions. Each everywhere that Jamaica, we just modify, turn them into cruise ship. Who to bother? Who to bother? We shall also, there might be a lot of returnage, or probably return voyage to the land that's probably fertile, also not as cursed on, or probably some of cursed, such as North American region, or proper regions of North, or probably lots of regions, or probably a lot of, or probably also region for region for lots of region, or for proper continent for region, for probably lots of regions of North America. We have also the region of Africa. One thing is to be happy, but we are also prepared to hit toward the enemies at any moment, or immediately strike towards it. Suppose upon demand. Suppose they murder one of our ambassadors, also they was deemed suitable to strike towards him, we'll launch missiles. The compact group that came together for common cause, that traversed through almost a similar background, the unit here astoundingly as an honor. Or really imagine H le or region for so that's Hong Kong if I die can play the if or as German language codex of compact Republic or very big Republic or of a sound Republic also some of the words of Republic also of unity. This is a proper passage of this video, or proper also videos, or just for proper passage of this video, also videos for some proper. That's it of this video, or proper also videos.